Welcome to Breakfast with Birch and Bat, a conversational podcast about tabletop RPGs.
And anything else we want.
With your hosts, me, Arella.
And me, Kyle.
Good morning.
I think it's going to be really good.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to Breakfast with Birch and Bat.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Arella. We already have an intro in the beginning of the podcast, but now you know our names twice.
Yeah. Oh, it's just I always kept doing that. But so we're going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to our hearts today.
Yes.
With in a variety of games that we run and games that we tend to want and like to play in. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to be talking about Downtime.
I love Downtime stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
I think it's probably one of the most underutilized aspects of the game, is because there's lots of stuff for running dungeons. There's lots of stuff for overland adventuring and pre-made adventures and setting building and things like that. What isn't nearly as covered in a lot of published books and a lot of other campaigns is the kind of stuff that happens in between adventures or in between sessions even.
Exactly.
And something I thought we run Downtime a lot in all of our games, and I think it's worth talking about.
Definitely. Downtime is the prime story motivator in any games that I run, personally. Mm-hmm. So I would say any game I come up with is about 50% story, 50% downtime. Let's see what everyone does with it.
Yeah.
That's my games.
Yeah. Well, is it because with some of the games that I know that I've played in that you have run, each session sort of conforms to like a single day. Mm-hmm. And then the next session is usually like either the immediate events after some downtime or is just downtime itself. Oh.
If I keep pausing, it's because we have a co-host today.
We have a third host today on Breakfast and Birch and Bat.
It is our little kitty cat, Delilah.
She is cushioned up right beside us, right as I was on just a stack of pillows.
Right at perfect reach to just paw at my arm and get her claws real good in there and be like, Mommy, pet me.
Hey, what are you doing?
More attention, Mommy.
Come on, what about more pets for me?
So if I keep pausing, it's because I feel her claws digging into my flesh. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's no good. Anyway, so there's different types of downtime that can be done, like in any like traditional tabletop game. I think the one most people know of is carousing. Mm-hmm.
Carousing is like, because some people think of it as just like going about and drinking. Mm-hmm. It's sort of often described as like a kind of like merrymaking and partying. Drinking is a huge component of it because the money that you spend when carousing is usually going towards like drinks or partying and other kinds of stuff, but like is mostly drinking.
I think in most games it's also used as like an XP drop or EXP drop or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like you can pay a certain amount of money into something to get just XP in exchange. Very few people will actually bother role playing that out, which I think is a shame. Yeah. Personally, but we'll get into my feelings on that soon. There's also, shopping. Yeah,
buying magic items, selling magic items, research into things that are coming on the campaign. There's different versions of downtime where it's like you're spending time with another, either an NPC or a PC to sort of like build that relationship up. Mm-hmm. That I found has been kind of rare. Like I've only encountered that maybe once or twice in a couple of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's any time or any activity spent when you're not adventuring. The sort of in-between kind of stuff.
I've definitely been a part of a lot of games. You know my history of the hundreds, probably literally, of games I've played.
You've actually, I think, you've been a player in games a hell of a lot more than I have.
There was a point in time where I was playing 4 to 5 games a week.
That's ridiculous.
It was not okay. That's too much D&D for anybody. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. But I was playing testing and things and doing all of that pretty frequently. Downtime was something I rarely encountered.
Yeah.
Across the board. It was go, 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 go. Oh, we're in the dungeon. Oh, we sell our stuff quickly. But in a way that the DM's just checking prices, tells us the price, we write it on our sheets. Okay, next thing.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't any NPC interaction. There isn't any gambling, there isn't any drinking, there isn't any, like, merrymaking or studying or, you know.
It just becomes a way of handling bookkeeping and also getting maybe some additional experience points for some gold and stuff.
I think that's considered standard downtime.
Yeah. Like in the dungeon game that I run at the moment, there is an option for the players to carouse. When we begin every session, I pick things up. It's like, hey, did you guys want to have caroused from last session? Where you spend a bit of gold, you have some fun times, and then I roll on a table to see what happens after.
Yeah.
But I always try to build in the time for character interaction. If players are carousing and everything, sort of like playing out what happens as a result of that. And then from there, it usually ends up being one player wakes up hungover in a very bad situation and then brings in the other players and then to like help them get out of a bad situation. And then from there, there's some character bonding through that. Mm-hmm. That's like the bare minimum, I feel like.
That's bare minimum. I'm a fan of, especially with carousing. I'm going to use carousing as my first.
It's the big one, yeah.
It's the one we have a free PDF for on our store, plugging Birch and Bat. Again, I'm going to do this like every episode.
Well, yeah, we don't have like ad breaks or anything, so we might as well plug stuff during the episode.
Go to birchandbat.com and go to our free resource section and find On the Rocks, a carousing PDF of D100 tables to roll for your players. Using that, I usually don't give them XP. Mm-hmm. This is a controversial thing that I have had some players take issue with, and mostly other DMs take issue with. Mm-hmm. I don't count XP for carousing at all. For me, there's something bigger to come out of it.
Yeah.
Everyone will roll on that D100 table. Sometimes I custom make it. Sometimes I use one from the PDF. And then we all have our, you woke up doing what? You woke up in what way? But there's almost always some kind of storyline continuation. Sometimes they wake up with each other.
Yeah.
Which is a fun little story to have to figure out what happened there.
I've had so much good plot and character interaction stuff come out of two player characters waking up in the same bed.
Yeah. You just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tell them anything else. You just let their imagination go.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll take it however they want. Same with NPCs. If they woke up in a certain store, do you need them to go to a certain NPC and they're being stubborn and going in every other direction? Make them drink. Make them drink, and then they wake up there the next day, and there you go.
Yeah,
there's your kickstart.
It is a great way of just like, if there is a plot detail that your players aren't quite going for, carousing is a great way of introducing it in a way of like, well, how do we end up here? What is this object that we have and everything? Oh, that was a thing we didn't take care of, and now we've drunkenly blundered into it. Yeah. Because now there's consequences.
That you can do it that way, but I mean, in my case, with a lot of games I've run, I tend not to be very direct. I'm going to admit that. That's maybe my failing as a DM. I like to write puzzles and storylines where I'm not the most direct with what's supposed to happen next. I keep it obtuse sometimes.
You go super subtle with some of your stuff, and it's wonderful when you pick up on it, because suddenly, like, a couple of the players will be like, oh, no, I know what's going on.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like, what do you mean? Everything seems fine. Everything always seems fine until it isn't.
Exactly. I love playing like that. So when you do that, and it's too subtle, and they're not getting it.
Yeah, you get lost.
You're not getting it. That happened a few times. And then they drank. And then they all woke up inside or around the location that I needed them to go to. Mm-hmm. And somebody's like, oh, I understand now.
Yeah, it's a way of like very directly communicating both plot and setting, especially character details. Because there are things that, especially like NPCs, they may be really sort of po-faced and sort of straight up about their motivations and things in regular interaction. But if they get drunk and the player characters wake up someplace new or wake up someplace different, that may start to come together a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's an option you can use with that. Of course, furthering any story is good with that.
Yeah.
Or just being silly. If it has been a really hard couple of sessions, maybe they lost a companion, maybe the dungeon was difficult, maybe they failed a task. Let them get drunk. You say, oh, you go to a bar. What are they going to do? they're going to look at each other and go, I'm getting the beer. I'm getting it. They're going to have their characters get drunk. Well, then you throw the silly outcomes at them. It gets the table laughing again. It takes the edge off, and then they can start anew.
Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful way of incorporating like more lighthearted stuff, more comedy, just a shift in tone.
Yes.
And it's really, really good for sort of changing things up and getting players who wouldn't normally be talking to each other or interacting with each other's characters. It's a great way to get them starting to talk and them starting to interact. Again, two characters that suddenly wake up in bed together. If there had been no previous relationship whatsoever, other than like, I'm the fighter, I hit stuff and defend other people, make sure they're protected, and I'm the cleric, I keep people, alive in the moment. If that's the beginning and end of their relationship, if something like that happens, suddenly there's something new there. Whether it's good, bad, it gets them interacting.
I'm going to use some examples, because I don't want people to just think that it's like only a sexual thing. Because I've had 3 very different outcomes in 3 games that I DM'd, where I put 2 people who had just met, and they rolled. It was, to be fair, random roll, and it happened to be that they woke up next to each other in bed. In one, they took it, they ran with it, and they were married by the end of the game.
Very cool.
Which was adorable. It was adorable. We had another one where they woke up and they wanted me to clarify. Do we have clothes on? Well, yes. Okay, we've decided we're cuddle buddies. And they called each other cuddle buddies for the rest of the game. And, like, they would hold hands if they got scared. If they heard lightning from above, they'd go, where's my cuddle buddy? And it became like a comedic point in the group. They got each other plushies for Christmas, so they could always hug their cuddle buddy from afar. It was very cute.
But that's the thing, like it's those kind of elements, like you give them just a little bit of information and a little bit of context. Usually players can take it from there. You gotta give them a little bit of something.
I would also say there was the last example is they decided to hate each other.
Yeah, that's another one.
That's a dynamic that for the rest of the game, they would always remind each other of it and blame each other for what happened. And usually just, it was your fault. You're the one who tried to come on to me. What are you talking about? And then every squabble would end in it. But it was humorous. It ended up being like this funny thing that they always fought over. And you can get all 3 of those things out of that. It can go in any direction you need.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way of injecting that sort of character interaction where not a whole lot had been happening previously.
Exactly.
Like, Downtime is really good for that.
Another Downtime activity, away from carousing, is shopping.
Yeah.
The magic item shopping is pretty much the traditional way of doing that. I like shopping for literally anything.
Yep.
Clothing stores is kind of my forte.
Yeah, come to think of it, I've played in a number of your games. There is always an opportunity to go clothes shopping.
Not armor shopping.
Yeah.
No, this is, you get no bonus for wearing this. Do you want to feel fancy? Do you want a cool cape with stars on it that glow in the dark? I've got that.
I've had my characters buy so many ridiculous dresses in the streets of a variety of different places.
Yes. Hat shops. People love hat shops.
God, hat shops are just
they love it.
They're really fun.
They love it. They will drop 5 gold on a really weird hat to wear that will give them absolutely no combat bonuses. They will. Most players will do that. Or accessories. Things they can wear that are like little trinkets that don't have any magical value.
Trinkets are tons of fun.
I will always make sure, because I play a lot of Ravenloft. You know that. I will make sure there is a caravan wagon somewhere that has trinket odds and ends that are just completely useless snow globes, magnets,
Yeah, like small keepsakes and stuff like that. Like, it's really fun. It's also, it's one of those things where it's like, if you give your players time and the motivation to go shopping for random odds and ends and things like that, even the most stodgy players who like aren't super into role playing will let a little bit of characterization come out of that, because suddenly it's like, what would your character want to buy when you finally get past like, well, beyond weapons, armor, and the usual stuff that increases your stats and your numbers and such. It's like, well, what would your character care about? you're going to slowly start to get things that are more interesting and more that are going to make interacting with them from other players a lot more interesting and a lot easier.
When preparing a list of things in each shop, I like to have a list of about 15 mundane things. Mm-hmm. And then I will also purposely inject 2 items each that are incredibly curtailed, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Detailed to each player.
Yeah.
That are themed to them. And I wait and I see which one they go for. Sometimes they buy each other gifts, which is adorable, mind you. Having these lists available for them to browse through or peruse. I believe in a previous episode I mentioned making Pinterest boards for this.
Yeah.
That will help. But every single time I preload stores with items that I know they will likely go for. Which can start conversation between them.
Yeah. Well, because it's a great shopping experience that's like, once you have an item that's tailor-made for each other, suddenly that increases engagement. Because suddenly it's like, you will see when you've made a specific item for a specific player character, they're going to gravitate to it. Almost every time. It's like, oh, like you get that moment of joy that comes up.
If your player characters have noticed that there's or have taken to an NPC, make sure the NPC has some ideas in there too. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what that NPC likes. Maybe they've been dropping hints. Maybe they have stuff around, etc. Always make sure favorite NPCs have items that the players can buy for them. Yeah. Because they will.
Oh, yeah. Because, like, when you come across... If you have a favorite NPC, like, it's not hard to suddenly want to buy gifts for them if you really care about them.
Exactly.
That actually reminds me, because, like, Downtime is usually sort of like a structured event kind of thing that happens after sessions or, like, right before the next one. Or sometimes it can actually happen sort of, like, in the sort of in-between times or during a lull during a session. Like, one thing I've noticed that has come up a lot in my recent games is the idea of sort of sudden brunch, where... The player characters will, after a combat encounter or after, like, a particularly sort of thorough bit of exploration or NPC interaction or doing something within a place, if they're near a market or if there's a section of a town or city or place where it's like, hey, it's like mid-afternoon, do you guys want to, like, grab drinks and food and stuff? And, like, we'll begin to bond over that in between. Like, let's see where that leads the adventure. That's happened in a lot of my sessions lately.
Really?
Where everyone's just sort of like, yeah, I guess it's brunch time now. Like, is there a place we can get mimosas? And I roll a couple of D6s and now I'm like, that's how many feet away it is from the place that's going to have mimosas. Or like pastries and things like that.
I usually throw a bakery in.
Yeah.
My players tend to be more grab and go-y in all of my campaigns because they've got NPCs to romance. They ain't got time to sit around for brunch. But, like, the grab-and-go kind of aspect. I've had a coffee shop that I put into a modern AU version of something.
I'm a huge fan of coffee shops and fantasy games.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's because just I'm a kind of a coffee nut myself.
Yes.
But, like, it's one of my favorite things to include. Because as soon as you put in, like, a fantasy Starbucks, all of your players are going to be like, oh, I want that.
Now you've reminded me that I'm a soft pretzel fiend the way that you are a coffee fiend, and I now need to have a soft pretzel stand in my next game.
Because it's like even just a taste in something small, like character's taste in food or a character's taste in snack and everything. Even that helps to sort of spur a bit of characterization and a bit of interaction.
Oh, yeah. I tend to use food a lot in my games. No surprise to anybody who knows anything about me.
Yeah.
But my favorite thing to do is to explore the world through food. Mm-hmm. So I'll have the characters interact with an area with the local cuisine. And I will make sure that any restaurants, any food shops have that available up front. And that helps them explore the world at large. But they usually consume it during downtime. Mm-hmm. Like they'll go to a restaurant or they'll go to like an inn or something. And when they get the weird dish set in front of them of this is our special today, they go, what the hell is this?
Oh my God, yeah.
And you then get to explain the world lore to them in that moment. And they could talk amongst themselves about, oh, this is weird. Oh, this is, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah. One thing about downtime, and especially that kind of exploration, buying stuff kind of downtime, it is a great way of doing really evocative world building.
Oh, yeah.
without having to go through a lot of combat or a lot of NPC interaction that is like a lore dump. Instead of just dumping a bunch of information of here's these parts of the world that don't interact very well, and these neighboring countries don't like each other. Like small things like shops, food, items, things like that can help you build up your world in a way that your players can directly interact with.
Even something as simple as going back to like the clothing shop option, theming the clothes to the period and location.
Yeah.
Hungarian themed dark fantasy that I do so much has a little bit of edge of Victorian in what I do, because there's so many vampires and it's all they like to wear.
Oh yeah, it's literally a vampire's favorite fashion.
Exactly. So when they walk into the boutique, instead of finding medieval clothes or high fantasy clothing, they find a lot of lace, a lot of black and gray colors, maybe some plums in there. They find little bats attached to things. They find, raven feathers, wolf iconography. Even the toy shop is nothing but themed to the area. And now if they come from someplace outside of that, they're looking around wide-eyed like, oh, I'm not in Kansas anymore. And it instantly puts that feeling in them of where they are and how they can interact with the world. Yeah,
it's incredibly grounding, and it is an incredibly useful tool to have in like a game master sort of toolkit.
Exactly.
Like in my current Avernus game, there was a point a couple of sessions in, they were exploring the main city. I guess it was Baldur's Gate then. And they're exploring around, and they decided, one of the players decided they needed new clothes.
Right.
Like it was like, okay, well, I'm out of the weird convent that I was living in now. It's time for some new fashions. We just took out a bunch of cultists, and I've made a makeshift sort of half cape out of all their old weird dusty robes. I need some boots and some kicks to go with this. And from there, it was like, okay, well, I need a shoe shop really fast. So I turned to the setting itself and like the city. Okay, well, what kind of town is Baldur's Gate? Well, it was founded by pirates, a lot of water, no like horses or thoroughfare at all. So like boots are probably waterproof. Boots are probably coming in a variety of these different styles themed to that. So like a lot of pirate cut boots. And from there, taking inspiration from that, I was able to rattle off like 5 or 6 different types of shoe or boot or like different kinds of footwear. Laid that out for them, found some pictures really quickly online, showed them to them, and suddenly they were interacting with each other. It's like, oh, what kind of shoes do you wear? It's like, well, I can't wear those. I'm a tiefling. I have cloven feet and everything. Do you have anything that'll fit me? And I was like, okay, yeah, here's some different kinds of sandals that they have specifically for tieflings. And again, it got the players back and forthing about their backstories, their upbringings, things like that. All from a random chance of like, hey, let's go shoe shopping.
Oh, yeah. Another thing that I like to do, this is just like a personal thing I do. I don't think I've encountered other DMs who at least talk about it. So I'm sure other people do. But it's not common to have a specific downtime for character interaction.
Yeah.
Not just NPCs, but player character in player character, like one-on-one time. That can eat up a lot of a session. And I think that's why a lot of people prefer not to let characters just go off one-on-one and have some time just for themselves.
Yeah.
I like to put a timer on it. Give them 10 to 15 minutes to spend it, depending on what the session looks like and what my hours are looking like and everything. But if they know that this is the anime filler swimsuit beach episode... where they get to just not have to worry about the big bad and just have some time, I will let them figure out, like, who do you want to talk to? Is there anyone here you want to bond with? And people will jump at it. Oh, they get the opportunity to the rogue wants to talk to the bard for a while. Or the cleric wants to talk to the druid for a while. Or the 3 of them want to play a game together. Or go for a walk. Or go... It's amazing what they come up with.
Yeah, it's especially good because I remember watching you run through that for a couple of different groups. It's especially useful if you have a really big party. Like if you have 5 or more players, it can get incredibly important to do stuff like that. If you don't have a lot of time in the session itself, if you're doing a lot, it can be hard to constantly be interacting with each other if there's a lot going on. And yeah, that kind of downtime is super important and crazy useful.
I'm going to also state for the record, this is the most important part of possibly anything I'm ever going to say. If you have a shy player, it is very important to have this in play because they're not going to get a chance to talk otherwise. Mm-hmm. You need to let that character have a voice, and letting them have one-on-one sessions, even for just 10 minutes within a session with another player, gives that PC a voice and lets their opinions be heard, lets their backstory be heard, and it will help the player feel more included. Mm-hmm. It's been the case time and time again in any of my groups. If I have a particularly anxious or shy character or person playing a character, that's how you take care of that. You make sure that they are also included, and they'll likely not feel like somebody's talking over them if it's just them and another person. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by sort of like shrinking that group down to literally just 2 people for a certain amount of time, mm-hmm. that voice is able to be much more prominent. That's really cool.
If they've been so shy that no one's really connecting with them, so no one like wants to do that one-on-one with them, which has unfortunately happened a couple of times, you have NPCs at your disposal. Mm-hmm. Let everyone else do their thing. If they're like, oh, I want to talk to this person, I want to talk to this person, and the shy person is kind of excluded, let the other people do their thing, and then at the end, look at that and name that shy person's character off and make them look at you. Say, you're about to be approached by someone, and give them one-on-one time during downtime. Mm-hmm. Create the downtime for them.
That's good.
You need to include them.
Yeah. Well, also it gives them, because like all the players are like still paying attention to all this going on.
Absolutely.
So like it also makes the rest of your players, for a very short amount of time, it makes them an audience. Mm-hmm. And suddenly they're able to take in that shy player's information, their character stuff, without the chance of interruption.
Yes.
Which is super important.
It's also going to give them the confidence to play with some of the louder people in the group. Mm-hmm. That confidence can be built up over time. That got real serious because I'm much an advocate for helping your players to come into their own. Like that's a big part of why I do what I do. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge sticking point for me.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I haven't gotten an opportunity to use that in a lot of my games. Mm-hmm. Like I think I've only run one game where I had sort of paired off downtime. And it was mostly because that's sort of what the players wanted to do in the few of their downtimes, where we want to pair, because I had 4 players. Occasionally they would want to pair off and do something as like 2 people rather than the whole group, or rather than as individuals.
Yes.
And they were the ones that sort of set that up. And then I just sort of made the situations and the encounters and the things around that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great way of fostering like more character interaction.
Absolutely it is. I'll say, going off on another one while we're here, mm-hmm. Gambling and gaming.
Yeah.
Gambling and gaming is another fun little carousing thing to get players to spend all their money, sometimes frivolously.
Yep.
And it's real great. There's lots of ways to do it. My favorite way to do it is incorporate other games into tabletop.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me going off on
No, go for it. I want to hear this.
So I ran a homebrew game for a while, and there was a casino island that they got to go to with a volcano in the middle of it.
Oh, Casino Island sounds so much fun.
It was run by a crime syndicate, very much Team Rocket kind of
cool.
gambling hall kind of thing. But because it was very fantasy based, lights were lit by magic, but there wasn't any I didn't have any pull the lever kind of games. Mm-hmm. It was all card games or dice games. Dice games is where I funneled them. I put Yahtzee in my game.
Yeah.
I put Yahtzee in my game. For those who don't know what Yahtzee is, it is a 5-dice game where you have 3 attempts to roll those 5 dice, and you're trying to create the best combinations of dice rolls possible, kind of like poker hands.
Yeah. You
have the, 4 of a kind, 3 of a kind, full house, small straight, large straight, and Yahtzee is when you have all 5 numbers that are the same, like mm-hmm. 5 5s or 5 6s or whatever. You score them all up, and the winner of the game has the highest score at the end. I put a more condensed version of that in my game, and I renamed all the hands to be very thematic to that tropical island.
That's really cool.
And so I intended them to roll maybe 3 hands worth and then kind of go off and do the rest of the adventure. It was a 4-hour session where they just all sat around and just wanted to play Yahtzee all night.
Yeah, where you're just like gambling and just chatting and occasionally shit talking, I guess.
One person ended up with everyone's money.
Yeah.
By the end of the night. And it was ridiculous. But my God, I never heard them so happy.
It's really fun. Like, so in our home game, I know that we've done that a couple of times with a bunch of our characters where there was sort of a bit of travel. And it was like, well, we're sort of waiting around to arrive at a destination on a vehicle. What do we do now? Well, let's play some cards.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great way of just like having sort of like a game night within a game night.
You can literally pull out a deck of cards and just go to town. You can make your own cards if you want to be crazy like I am. Don't be crazy like me. It's a tremendous time sink. Don't do it. Or you can just pull out, like, it's your standard deck of cards. You can play blackjack. You can play poker.
Blackjack is a good one because you can get a lot of that interaction in a very short amount of time.
You can literally take child games, rename stuff, Goldfish, Old Maid, and just rename it. They'll be familiar with it off the bat. Most of them will immediately recognize what this game is and will be happy to play it because it's silly. It's silly to be playing Goldfish in the middle of a game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great way of, again, like, it helps that character traits and everything kind of shine through in the moment. And also it's just like, it's fun to do.
Yes. For gambling stuff in real life games, like around a table, you can easily get like dollar store coins and spray paint them.
Yeah.
You can just spray paint that any color you want and make it go crazy. You can get more expensive actual fantasy coins from different places online for fantasy currency. For Discord stuff, it doesn't matter. You have to keep track of them and tell them when they go broke, and then they'll keep spending.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. Like, well, because another thing that's really fun is that if a character starts to, say, go into debt, or they're spending all their money, but they want to keep going, give them options. It's happened in my carousing as well. So I've had characters who have gone into debt during carousing and downtime activities. And rather than just have that be like, well, you're cut off, that's the end of it for you. Like, you can actually have ways for your players to get involved with crime organizations or with like different types of like fantasy mafias, in terms of like, oh, you need money. Now you can introduce them to a part of your the campaign that you have that maybe they're heard of before, maybe they've encountered in combat before. Now you can reintroduce it in a way that is basically like, now they're going to do them a favor, and then they're going to have to owe something to this organization later on.
I've done the same, but because I run with small towns with vampire lords, the vampire lord often shows up and is like, you need some money, kid?
Oh, are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
I never would have imagined Strahd von Zerus to be the one of like, oh, I'll bail you out.
Yeah, can you do something for me?
Yeah, what kind of things does he ask to do?
So there's this girl.
Oh.
She has red hair and is everything I ever dreamed of.
So can you do the one thing that I always want no matter what? Okay, thanks, bye.
So there's this jerk off, and he lives in this tower, and he does nothing but study me like a nerd, and he won't leave me alone.
So he writes books about me. I don't know. He's obsessed or something.
Gross
Can you
old
take,
guy.
Can you
Not
take
like
care
me.
of him?
He's gross and old, unlike me, the pinnacle of youth.
Oh my god, that's really good.
No, he strolled into an inn once when they were all standing around gambling, and my fighter had spent too much money, and he just kind of sidles up behind him and is like, hello. You need some help here. And the fighter's like, yeah.
God, that's really good.
That'd be fine.
Like, I've played in other people's games where my character Rose has caroused and drank too much and, like, overspent on things.
Oh, yeah.
And then been indebted.
Yeah.
And it's a case of, like, you either need to do favors for the elven mafia, or you need to pay them back.
God, the elves would have a mafia, wouldn't they?
Oh, of course they would. Because who's gonna bail out the mostly other human adventurers and everything when they overspent? The elves will be there.
Oh, goodness.
They got influence. They have money to lend out.
Yeah. Yeah, they would. Yeah, so, like, I think we've both played around with the idea of, like, you can just get yourself in a lot of trouble.
It's a great way of introducing not just throw like drama and other stuff into your games where there wasn't any before. Because sometimes it can be hard to kind of plot that out in your game itself.
Yeah.
Downtime can be a way for like you just give your players a shovel and they will dig themselves deeper and deeper.
They will.
You give them that shovel. You give them an excuse to get themselves into trouble. They will almost always take it.
There's always a player that will dig themselves to the center of the earth. They will do it every time.
I've done it. I've been that player.
You are my player who does it.
Because in every opportunity, if there's a chance to carouse, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
Because I'm a sucker for random tables. And I love having like random elements introduced into the game and then making story out of that.
Yeah.
That's like just a joy for me.
And whenever I start a new campaign with new players, the first carousing is always the hardest one. There's usually like 2 players that will do it. And then they have the most ridiculous time. And the next time we carouse, it is at everyone's times their D100 dice on the table or their 2D10s and they're like, let's go.
Yeah.
They all are all in.
Because it's like, once they have an example of what is involved and the kinds of wonderful shenanigans that can come out of it, it's so hard not to do that.
They all want to just throw caution to the wind and just see what happens. That random chance thing that gets them every time. There's another way of downtime that I just actually thought of, and I hadn't intended on including in this episode.
Oh, what's up?
Festivals.
Oh, yeah.
Festivals and holidays.
Oh, I'm such a sucker for holidays in fantasy games.
Festivals and holidays are the best, and your players will lose their ever-loving minds if you give them a festival or holiday to be a part of. Don't do it all the time, because that takes a special shine off of it.
Yeah.
But give them something fun.
Every so often, just like give them a fun... Basically, it's like a day off.
Yeah.
It's like that small bit of reprieve of like, hey, have some time in the festival. You can totally include like plot and story stuff within it, but like have the bulk of it just be them having a good time. There
is in every television show known to mankind, not just anime, even though I use that as my example, there is an episode where it's just filler funny downtime where they go to the beach, they go to the pool, they go to the sauna, they go to the hot springs. And then it's the Christmas special, the Easter special, the Halloween special.
Yeah, the holiday special. In like North American TV, it's always the holiday specials, and they're always so good. They're
always the best. So every now and then, throw your plot out the window, just for a session or 2, and let them go crazy. Announce a festival in their very favorite town or city. I have a festival generator in that carousing document as well. Great. So you can just throw caution to the wind and go for that. They will love it. Give them activities to do, cool things to look at, fun food to eat, and a puzzle they can solve.
Yeah. Some kind of event that involves like them working as a group to either solve a problem or to get ahead of something.
Or compete against each other for a prize.
Oh, that's always fun times.
Compete against each other. How many cooking competitions have I run in my games?
Lots.
It
basically like every 4th session becomes an episode of Cutthroat Kitchen in your games. I'm cool with it. I think it's fun. But like, that is a thing that happens.
It is.
I've had in some of my games, like my really early game that I ran in Toronto, very first 5e campaign I had ever run, I had included 2 festivals, one of which was started because of the player characters and what they had done for the town they were in. If, say, your player characters are coming off of like a big victory, like they defeat the evil villain, they save a town, they do something big. Communities like a village, a town, even like a neighborhood in a city, oftentimes they're going to be appreciative of that. And instead of just forking over a bunch of gold, have them throw them a festival.
Absolutely.
A parade even. Like, do something like that.
They'll love that.
Yeah. Like the Tabaxi Ranger character, of all the players and everything, the story of their defeat of like an evil beholder in a throne room got circulated to the masses that the Tabaxi Ranger was he was the star of this like 5-person team. Like, he was the central character who the townspeople had come to know as Bowcat. And but that's the thing, like they were constantly coming during this festival, they were coming across puppet shows and stage performances of the exploits of Bocat and his merry followers.
That's so cute.
And like it's this wonderful thing of like give your player characters a mirror. Give them something to like look upon how other people see them and appreciate them. Because it's a real nice feeling every so often. It gives you that wonderful feeling of appreciation.
If I can piggyback off that.
Yeah.
You can also show your appreciation for them as the DM by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
My absolute most favorite way to incorporate a festival in a long form game is to make it on the day of the player's birthday.
Oh.
Or their birthday week. That session, they get a note.
Mm-hmm.
And they get the flyer telling them that whatever town they're in or closest to is having a festival, and they get there and it's themed very closely to the interests of their character. And for that week, they are the star. It is their birthday week.
That's very fun.
That's what I love doing. And you can just see. I love the expression they get when they realize it's for them. And the rest of the players are going to fall right in line and just be like, absolutely, it's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, time to make this special for you. They will leave with that memory and of a good time and feeling appreciated, because you don't have a game without players. You don't. So you need to show in return that you appreciate that they're there. Birthday is the best time for that.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
I've done it for somebody's graduation as well.
Aw, that's wonderful.
This is what you do, you know?
Yeah, it's a great way of showing appreciation to your relationship. I really like that, actually.
Yeah.
That's really good.
If you're super extra like me and they do a food downtime, you'll also actually cook the food and serve them to them in a live. I mean,
yeah.
That's
like I've been incredibly fortunate to have had I think a couple of birthday sessions run for me by friends, and it's the best feeling in the world.
It
oh
is.
My god.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have someone do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
To let you know that you're important enough for them to consider, like, having it be about you, and that they noticed your interests and they noticed what you're into and pace it for you. Like, you're like on top of the world.
Mm-hmm. That's going to like the next level as a game master.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yeah. And then, of course, just also make Christmas.
Yeah, Fantasy Christmas is always a really good time. If you're going to be doing Downtime as like a regular thing, having it be holiday themed is so good.
Holiday specials are imperative for a good time in a long form game.
Mm-hmm.
Always have an episode or two. I call them episodes, not sessions, because I frame mine like a TV show.
Yeah, when you run games, it's very sort of TV show sort of centric.
It's very CW, my games.
No, that's good, because it's like it creates a kind of continuity and like a moment-to-moment play that I haven't gotten to experience in a lot of other games. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really unique to how you run games, and I love it.
But there's always holiday specials. If Gilmore Girls is going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That's kind of just how I run my life, but also my games. If Gilmore Girls did it.
Gilmore Girls is actually a really good benchmark for character interaction, folks, audience listening at home, if you haven't seen Gilmore, if that's completely foreign to you, do yourself a favor and check it out. Pretty good show.
It's not for everybody, and I know that. That being said, it's my most favorite show of all time. And
I liked it a lot.
I'm the leader of the cult. We have T-shirts and meetings every Tuesday.
Yeah.
I take heavy influence from it, especially with how I frame timing. But it taught me how special holiday specials can be, even in something like a drama or something action-adventure-y even will have a holiday special.
Yeah.
They need that. Your players need it more than you think. They got money in their pockets. And if they don't have money in their pockets to buy a gift for people they like, they're going to find that money somehow.
Yeah, that's always a wonderful trope and a wonderful thing to do.
Or they handcraft something. And they have to tell you how they get the supplies to do that. And you got fodder for days with Fantasy Christmas.
Yeah, Fantasy Christmas has really provided a lot. I've run a bunch of essentially like fantasy Christmas or just outright Christmas sessions in a variety of different games. And it's always a good time. And it always gets players thinking about not just their characters, but other people's characters and NPCs as well, of like, oh, I have to give gifts. What would they want? Well, I need to find out what they want without them knowing, if they don't know them super well.
If you have a very roleplay heavy game, be prepared for an entire session just to be about getting Christmas presents. Mm-hmm. As has been my games multiple times over, where, we're not just getting presents for each other. We're getting presents for 25 NPCs each.
Oh my god.
Like, they went through the entire country of Barovia, Kyle. They went through all of Barovia and just got everybody a present.
Oh, damn. Anybody get coal in their stocking?
Yes, Van Richten did.
That fits. Yeah. Yeah, that fits.
There is so much time spent over, do we get Strahd another chess set?
Mm-hmm.
Like this
dude probably has so many chess sets. Like, he probably, like, it's like...
It's what everyone gets him. It's like a sweater.
Yeah.
Just a chess set.
It's like, oh, good. Thank you. Another one of these.
It's the same one that they always have at that blasted toy shop. It's so easy to do, though. People, they love it. Mm-hmm. Then you get to craft the NPC response to, thanks.
An avocado. Thanks. Actually, speaking of Christmas sessions, that actually sounds about time to pay the bills, because we have a holiday-themed adventure PDF in our store.
Are we literally telling them to get the Nutcracker Adventure in July? Are we doing that?
No, Christmas in July. Okay. It's literally the time.
Okay.
Listen, it is now upon us in the year of our Lord 2020. You know, Christmas in July is almost upon us. The best gift that you can get is to prepare for the actual Christmas that will eventually come by getting our wonderful Nutcracker themed adventure.
I can't believe you're. I'm like giving you the most incredulous look of like, it's July. It's not even July. It's mid-June, Kyle.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, at some point I'm going to have a Hot Springs Adventure PDF supplement or something. Like.
We need to have the beach day PDF.
We'll have it. At some point we got to do that.
We just have a beach day. Send them to a theme park. Make a theme park one.
As someone who has made an entire fantasy theme park for my home game, for my players to enjoy, because after a very sort of like tumultuous event, I was like, okay, my player needs a break. I'm gonna have Fantasy Disney World.
Yeah.
And I made that, and for like 3 to 4 sessions, we did Fantasy Disney World.
Which is the best.
Yeah, and I mean there was like plot stuff, there was a mystery to uncover as well, but it was a lot of like rides, games, interacting with like NPCs from other worlds and stuff like that. It was a good time.
It was really fun. That was me that you did that for. It was very good.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you liked it.
It was very good. But we got to come out with a summer adventure because we can't just keep hawking Christmas stuff.
No, Hot Springs. I would definitely write a Hot Springs Adventure.
You would write a Hot Springs Adventure.
Yeah. Beach one would also be good, like Beach Party.
I'll write a pool party supplement.
Ooh. Okay, yeah. I can totally imagine like pools being a thing in sort of fantasy towns and cities and everything.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'm sure mostly it's going to be like upper crust and nobility and people that are likely going to have them.
Depends.
Do you think there's like, are there public pools in fantasy times?
Well, it depends on how magic heavy the place is.
I suppose, yeah. But in my head, like, if you have a public pool, it's just going to end up being like that scene from The Sandlot with like, Wendy Peppercorn. Because that's my go-to when I think of summertime and public pools.
Is a create water spell in a giant pool of mud the same as a pool? Because is a create water spell in a ditch the same as having a public? Oh, okay.
No, that's not this. Well, it depends on how nice a ditch, I guess.
How nice of a ditch?
Listen, if you have a lifeguard, then it becomes a public pool.
I see.
So that would be the way to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say it becomes a public pool when you have an obscenely sized floaty.
Yeah, as soon as someone shows up with like again one of those like inflatable raft kind of things that you can just lay down on. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking more something that's shaped like a griffin.
Like a novelty griffin pool toy?
Yeah, that you gotta wait for the novelty griffin pool toy.
Oh my god.
To hit. The beach ball shaped like literally any round monster.
Oh, so create beach ball is definitely a spell that needs to exist.
I'll put it in the pool party PDF.
There we go.
Oh, we're losing our minds, Kyle. It's summer and I don't like it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Fall's coming, baby.
Fall's
Any day now.
I need fall to come faster.
Listen, we're angling our way through June. Eventually, it's going to be August.
I live in spooky world all the time. I can't deal with this heat.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I feel like my character Priyana right now complaining whenever she's forced to go to the Sword Coast of just like, fuck this.
Yeah, you've never had some good Sword Coast times anytime you go there.
I've never had good July times either in my personal life.
Yeah. Is it like perpetually like late summer on the Sword Coast, do you think?
I don't think it is, but
it feels that way.
It's because that's where all the DMs place it.
Yeah.
They're always like, it's summer or late spring. And immediately my poor little character from Ravenloft goes, ugh.
Ugh. Is it humid? If we're right on the coast, it would be. Gross.
Is it above 65 degrees and not raining? I don't know how to handle this. My skin will burn.
Oh my god. I mean, I play characters that are similar where it's like, we don't go out in the summer. What are you talking about?
She doesn't do summer festivities. That's the thing. Like, I've never been, unless it's your game, I've never actually played in any of those millions of games I played, had like a holiday adventure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We care a lot about downtime, but it's not something I've super encountered in a lot of other people's games.
It's not. And maybe somebody could convert her into a summer/Sword Coast fan. But so far, all she knows is that it's hot, it's too bright, and there's way too much bullshit that bites her.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's hot, there's dragons, it's bullshit.
It's bullshit. Don't like dragons.
Fucking now some goblins are up in this stuff, or bandits. Well, this is nonsense.
It's bad time. Don't like it.
That's not a good summer vacation.
No. But downtime is going to be something that I feel like, especially like the new generation of tabletop players are really gonna gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Because all of the big things, like Critical Role especially, they don't call it downtime often, if ever, but it's built into the game.
Yeah.
Those moments of he just kind of lets them go.
Well, yeah, you have to have those moments, whether it's sort of like constructed for them or not. My favorite example was from the Adventure Zone.
Yeah.
That's still one of my favorite D&D podcasts.
Absolutely.
Kind of things. And yeah, after every arc, Dungeon Master Griffin McElroy would have his brothers and his dad just interact with other characters. Like before they level up, before they go, he literally had a whole episode of shopping for them.
Yes.
In between arcs. That's the best thing ever.
It is the most important, crucial thing to do to take the edge off of especially if you have dark plots or difficult dungeons. You need to have a balance there. They will appreciate it, and then they'll play the hard stuff harder. They will go all in on that because there is that delicate balance there.
Yeah. Like, do not be afraid, even if it kind of breaks the immersion of your world. Like, work within the confines of your world, but don't be afraid to like have that sort of tonal dissonance. Don't be afraid to put a fantasy Costco in your world. If that's what it takes to have like a place for your characters to do shopping and feel safe and have that interaction, go for it. You got nothing to lose, I guarantee you.
Get that fantasy 7-Eleven where the cheese is blue instead of yellow on the nachos. And your fantasy taquitos made of griffin meat.
God, I need a fantasy 7-Eleven up in my games.
Right?
I mean, I already have a fantasy Starbucks, and there's fantasy vending machines has already been established.
I love the fantasy vending machines. I really do.
But yeah, I need like a fantasy wholesaler store where they can get stuff.
Fantasy Hot Topic. That's basically what I put in my game.
Oh my god, yeah.
I just put Fantasy Hot Topic in my game every single time, and I just let them go crazy. I really do.
Oh yeah, because if you have wizards, if you have warlocks, any class that takes like an interest in the dark arts and things like
that's literally clerics for me, though. Do you know how many grave clerics I've had?
Yeah, I've had no grave cleric. I feel like I'm missing out.
Grave clerics that show up going like, where's my Linkin Park t-shirt? I'm like, I love you. You're the best. You're best little cleric in the whole world. Yeah.
You give them a place where they can get their My Chemical Romance t-shirts.
They're coming back. It's important.
Yeah.
They're back. You gotta have it. Also, fantasy clerics for the opposite.
Oh, fantasy clerics. Sorry, my heart just fucking skipped a beat.
Fantasy limited to.
God damn.
Bring back Neopet plushies, but have them be beholders dressed up in rainbow colors.
God, that's so good.
I'm killing Kyle with my dumb ideas.
Well, no, because like I'm the biggest sucker in the world for that. So apparently the moral of this episode is like let your players go shopping and facilitate that.
Give them a fantasy Cinnabon.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like I'm much more a fantasy food court kind of person.
I know.
I love providing that for players of like, yeah, you're now within the market wide. Here's all kinds of interesting food places that they have.
In summary,
what do you like? What are you in the mood for?
In summary, take a note from Shrek and parody everything.
God, that's my go-to when
Shrek
running.
2.
Yeah, Shrek to it. Far away it.
Make everything very parody-ish, far away idol shit.
Oh my God. I mean, that's literally how I approach like published settings. Yeah. I can't help it. I grew up with too much satire and too much like, again, too many parody things. So like anytime someone publishes a setting or I use a published setting like official D&D type stuff, I kind of always just take the piss out of it. So, like, don't be afraid of doing that. Your players will have more fun. You
also only need to do it to one thing. If you're a very buttoned-up kind of person, I respect you for it. I understand the urge to just have it be serious 100% of the time. Give them one thing. Mm-hmm. You only need one. If they gravitate towards it, then they know where to get it. They can just go to that one location, and the rest of the world is serious.
That's really good.
That's all you have to do. Or you can just go buck wild and just have the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've done. Like, I really love running Ravenloft, but Ravenloft is a gothic fantasy setting.
Yeah.
And that requires a certain amount of, like, tone keeping that I find very difficult.
Yes.
Because I'm a goofy boy, and I love shenanigans. And I've run Ravenloft a lot like that. I actually have, like, the thing that I'm always striving for is more to try and keep it serious. Because, again, my go-to is like, yeah, they also have this fantasy thing over here.
Well, that's why, especially with modern Ravenloft Curse of Strahd stuff, you got Vallaki doing nothing but festivals every week.
Yeah.
There's your Goofy.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Goofy place where you can come up with the most off-your-rocker high ideas.
They literally have a toy store filled with dangerous Victorian-era, like tin toys. It's wonderful.
You can just go crazy with the toys. Just literally put Nickelodeon Gak in there. It's dangerous just because they'll think they can eat it. Mm-hmm. They don't know not to eat Nickelodeon Gak. This is the second episode I've brought Nickelodeon Gak up in. Listen, that was very influential.
Was that your 90s toy?
Yeah, I never had one.
Oh, I didn't either. I always wanted it.
And my family members had it, and I got to watch from afar as they played with it. Very sad.
Oh, baby.
It was very sad.
God.
I'm going to leave this podcast on a very somber note that Arella never got to play with Nickelodeon Gak for real.
Oh.
It's very sad.
I think that might have to wrap us up this week.
Make your players have Nickelodeon Gak for me.
Include fantasy Nickelodeon Gak.
And then go to birchandbat.com and leave me an email telling me about their experience, because I actually want to know.
That actually be really fun.
Or tag us on Instagram or Twitter at Birch and Bat.
Please.
Or Facebook. I think we're also on Facebook.
We're on
places. And just tell us about the fact that I get to live vicariously through your characters.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do us for the week. If this hasn't converted you to the idea of running downtime in your games, give it a try. It is really good for fostering like more character interaction, and it is a really nice break in between stuff. It is.
Best of luck out there to all of you.
Have a good one.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Breakfast with Birch and Bat. We're supported by our very own store that you can find at birchandbat.com. We have tabletop adventure PDFs, gaming supplements for your ongoing games, and RPG-themed shirts, stickers, phone cases, mugs, and even more. As always, thank you for all your support, and we will see you next week.